Hey, ladies and gents, welcome to the Controlled Interest Gamecast, episode 114. As always, I'm joined by Jordan.
Jared, it's great to have you here on the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for always asking. And Dom.
Better Call Saul. One more episode.
So, can we jump in, Jared, just for a quick sec?
Okay.
So, I think they'll have a season 5, obviously. I think it'll be the last season.
Yeah, I agree.
And
they already announced that, I think.
Did they?
I'll check. Keep talking.
They announced that they're doing 5, but there's no word on if that's the last one or not.
Yeah, they're definitely setting up for a 5th season, and they're setting up, they're being, really obvious. They're basically just, putting puzzle pieces into place that are for Breaking Bad. I know a lot of people wish that they had gone, not necessarily into Breaking Bad, but I really don't think we're going to spend all of Season 5 with Jimmy as Saul Goodman, and I wish. I mean, it's called Better Call Saul, and most of the show is him not being Saul Goodman, so I wish that they had spent more time over the course of this show doing that, but...
Have I told you my
this
theory?
This season's been interesting. There's been some slow parts, which the show is just slow in general, but, the whole Jimmy and Kim thing has been really weird at parts, and then they've actually come through, and I don't know. It's been a good season, but definitely some ups and downs. Probably my least favorite of the seasons.
Yeah, it's been weird this season. 3 was absolutely flawless and just heartbreaking and glorious. It was just every
all
emotion.
3 of the first 3 are great in their own right. They're all really interesting.
Yeah, the next season I'm predicting at least a full episode in black and white, of him in the future.
That's what I was gonna say.
You know, that's
post Breaking Bad, whole episode. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, what else going on, Jared?
We talk about video games and everything happening in the industry. Sorry, it's a little late. I was going to say that right after Dom introduced himself, but had to give you guys the floor there. Nothing much. I've been playing quite a bit this week. So Life is Strange, the first episode of Life is Strange Season 2 came out, so I wanted to get to that. But before that, I wanted to play Captain Spirit, The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, because it was
Captain Underpants?
Yeah, it's a spiritual prequel to it, and people didn't know why. They said that the character that you played in Captain Spirit isn't the character that the main protagonist in Life is Strange Season 2. And
did you play Before the Storm?
No.
Cool.
I played Captain Spirit. That game was cool. It's short. It's only an hour and a half. The kid in that is really, really interesting. The story is quite sad, which you'd expect from Life is Strange at this point, if you are familiar with the first season, or I'm assuming people played Before the Storm. I really enjoyed it. I do suggest, if you're going to play Life is Strange Season 2, to play it. It's not mandatory, but I do think that story is engaging enough to give it a try. And it's not that long, like I said. It's maybe an hour and a half. 2 hours if you're kind of slow rolling it, going through every little nook and cranny. But once I started Life is Strange Season 2, Episode 1, which I'll get into shortly, once you start that, you find out how Captain Spirit connects to it. And I don't want to spoil that for you guys, but it's immediately evident how they connect.
Nice. Life
is Strange Season 2, Episode 1, I really liked it quite a bit. It's a different story. I don't want to spoil too much because I know, Jordan, you're interested in playing it, right?
Yeah, I'll do the Before the Storm, and then Captain Underpants, and then Season 2.
And I'm assuming, I don't remember you saying anything about Life is Strange, Dom, so I don't know if you're interested or not.
No, I've never played it. I'm interested, but I never got around to it. But it's weird that you brought it up, because I actually just downloaded it on my iPhone, which is weird. They give you the first episode free, right? One of those deals.
Yeah.
And I started playing it for 20 minutes, and it works really well on an iPhone. It's surprisingly well, walking around and what have you. It works really well, but
interesting.
And then the full game is $8 or something, so I might end up actually playing Lord strike me down, gods of gaming, but I might actually end up playing this thing on my phone.
Yeah, I completely disagree with playing it through it on a phone. I think that detracts from it, but if it's the only way it's going to get... I don't know. I would even say don't play it on Switch either. I would say just buy it on PS4, honestly. That's my opinion. But if it gets you to play it, then however you want to play it, play it. I just think
a hyper immersive kind of game that you want to be
Yeah, why PS4 over Switch? I don't think it would run that much better or anything.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like Dom really plays. Do you play on your dock that often, Dom?
Pretty much never. I'm always handheld on the Switch.
Yeah. So.
But I see this like.
The game's not on Switch, right?
It's
No, I don't
almost
think
like
so,
an
no.
American.
Okay.
They're almost like American visual novels. These and the Telltale games.
I think these are drastic.
RIP.
I think they come from the same DNA as Telltale, but I think they're a lot more. Not a lot more, but they are more complex than the Telltale games. I don't know. I just think you take away from the experience playing on a smaller screen, in my opinion. But to each their own.
I mean,
yeah.
With that's anything on a smaller screen, right? Like,
Yeah, but if it's
I don't know. I think you're good either way. I think they're same tier as Telltale, but I do think that means they're all good games, in my book. So
yeah. No, I don't mean that in terms of Telltale being worse than Life is Strange, but I think they're a little bit more involved. I think Telltale's mechanics seem to be even simpler than Life is Strange for the most part. But yeah, that's cool that you're interested in. If you want to play it on your phone, play it on your phone. I don't want to detract you from that. But yeah, so Life is Strange Season 2, it has subtle ties to Season 1, but it's not like directly correlated. So if you wanted to just jump into Season 2 without playing Season 1, you're perfectly fine with doing that. I will say that I think this game starts off on a better note than Life is Strange Season 1. I think Season 1 gets better the more episodes you're into it. I think it really ramps up with episode 3. This one kind of hits the ground running, and I think it's partially due to the fact that they already know the formula that works for them, so they're willing to hit the gas pedal a lot earlier. Whereas I think with the first season they were kind of worried, and they wanted to get you kind of used to the world and used to their mechanics and how things are set up in Life is Strange. Like I said,
they gave away episode 1 for free of season 1, and I don't necessarily know that would have been enough for a lot of people, because I do think it ramped up, like you say.
Yeah, this also there's a price differential between season 2 and season 1. Season 1 was like the Telltale price of like $20-$25 for the whole season. This one's $40 for the whole season, and instead of it being 5 episodes a season, it's $5 an episode. It's $8 an episode. I'm personally not mad about that, because with the recent news we've seen with Telltale and their sales numbers, it wasn't a sustainable model. So I understand the price increase, and for me, I think it's worth it. Obviously, everyone has their own value of like what's worth X amount of dollars to you, and I think these experiences, what I played with Life is Strange, is definitely worth $40 for me, and obviously everyone's going to make their own decision with that. But with episode 1, they introduce you to some really cool characters. Unlike season 1, where it was focused around Max, this one has 2 main protagonists, and it kind of follows their journey. And this one is very much rooted in the current political climate, but not in an overt way. I think it really tackles issues that we're dealing with today and kind of turns them on their head. And there's enough superhero vibe in this that will get people who are more interested in that side of Life is Strange excited, because obviously the first Life is Strange follows somebody with a power. I don't want to. I'm speaking vague, even though the game's old, because Dom might play it.
Rewind time.
Yeah.
It's been spoiled 100 times over, so
okay.
I just say
Is that even a spoiler though?
I don't know, if you're jumping into the first time and you don't know that she has time manipulation powers. The game's called Life is Strange. You know what I mean?
They didn't market it that way, I guess.
And also it depends on how much marketing people pay attention to, right? Some people
been too long
watch
anyway.
trailers or I just didn't want to spoil stuff, since I partially spoiled something for Spider-Man, remember, by accident. So I'm being extra careful now, for Dom anyways. So I'm really enjoying it. I would like to go into it and talk about the episode specifically, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys if you're planning on playing it. I just want to say that I think it starts off stronger than season 1. I like these protagonists a lot. The story already has me captivated, and I'm interested to see where it goes. It's really cool, and from my own life experiences, there's a lot of relatable stuff in there that I'm really digging. And the other thing I played was Forza Horizon 4. Obviously, that game came out on Game Pass on October 2nd for free for anybody with Game Pass. Ooh. I'm not a racing game guy, so there was not a chance in hell that I was going to be buying this game, obviously. But with Game Pass, since I'm subscribed to it, it gave me the opportunity to play it. I like the Forza Horizon games.
That sounded exactly like an ad for just 1 second. But with Game Pass, the opportunity was there for me to play it.
Yeah. Obviously, we've talked about Jordan, how you feel that you like the Horizon games, but they're still a little bit too sim for your tastes. Which, if I was more of a racing guy, yeah, exactly. For me, I like the Horizon games. I think they're arcadey enough for me to enjoy them for what they are. I'm not somebody who's going to be. I doubt I'll beat this game, quote unquote. I'll probably put in as much time as I can before Assassin's Creed Odyssey comes out, which is October 5th, the day after we're recording this.
And apparently you're going to need a lifetime to finish that one.
Yeah,
the open world racing games, you just kind of fuck around in until you are done, and then you can jump back in later and have some fun, I think is the best way to do it. You know?
Exactly, yeah, and it'll be a nice palate cleanser for me because I'm going to be playing Odyssey and then Red Dead 2 back to back, so that's like a lot of open world.
Yeah.
And I definitely don't want to fatigue myself with that, so I'll definitely have it there to palate cleanse, like I said. The cars feel great. The open world nature of it is really cool. There's a lot of varying missions. If you played a Forza Horizon game, a lot of the staples are there. The stunt races, the off-road races, the street races, all of that stuff. This game is beautiful, which everyone said that. It's just incredible. And I don't even have a 1X, so it's like I can just imagine how beautiful this goddamn thing is when you have a 4K TV and a 1X.
Forza Horizon 3 on a 1S, like with HDR, looks fucking great.
Yeah, maybe these are the showcase titles, right? They always are.
Yeah.
One thing I do love about the Forza games that I've known about, even though I haven't played all of them, is that they have a really dedicated community to skins, which are obviously liveries for cars. And there's a ton of them. So right now, one of the first cars you rock is an Audi TRS or something. Once again, I'm not a car guy, so forgive me. It's an Audi, but I downloaded an N7 skin. And it looks super dope. Nice. So I'm just driving around the game in my Mass Effect car. And there's a ton of different ones. There's like a really badass like Heath Ledger Joker skin. There's Rick and Morty skins. Whatever you can think of. Classic Batman. It's really cool.
They do that in Need for Speed too, and people you would not believe what people put out there. And then you just it's an instant free download essentially if you want to put it on your car, and then it's added to your library.
Yeah, they also have the Bond cars, which I thought were paid DLC, but they're not. You can just buy them with the in-game currency, which is super dope. So I'm going to be picking up one of those Bond cars, which I'm not against it being paid DLC. I understand it's probably a license they had to pay for, right? But it was a cool surprise to see that you can buy with in-game currency. Once again, I'm not super ingrained in the series, so maybe that's a normal thing, and people are like, "Oh, idiot." One of the yeah, exactly. The thing I love about it too is that it's very noob friendly. It's the Forza Horizon games are very noob friendly, but they're also very car head friendly, gearhead friendly as well. So somebody for me who I'm not a huge car guy. They have the lines on the road that kind of give me a detail of oh, you should speed up here, you should slow down here, this is where you should drift, kind of giving you tips without actually being onward descriptors, right, of the things you need to do.
Sure. Is
really helpful. Obviously there's difficulty settings, but if you're a gearhead, you can go into the minutia of cars on this. You can tune specific parts, all of that stuff. And I clicked in and I was like, whoa, too much for me, but that's cool, it's here. And I promptly backed out and never went to that screen again. I was like, this is too much for me. But it's cool that it exists for people who are really into that. And obviously these games sell millions of copies every time they come out, and there are people that are that into it. So I appreciate that it hits on both of those levels. Once again, just having a blast with it. I'll probably get hours in here and there between Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Red Dead and whatever I want to break. But yeah, just having a blast with that. I'm not going to go too long on things I've watched, but I'm doing a tandem of shows right now. So I'm finishing season 2 of Atypical, which is one of my favorite shows on Netflix. It's about this kid with autism who's on the spectrum and living in a household, and how having autism doesn't remove the fact that people just grow up in dysfunctional families. So it's his mom cheated on his dad, and his sister's going away to a private school, and it's just a really cool coming of age television show on Netflix. I really enjoy it. And I'm balancing that with American Vandal Season 2, which I'm enjoying as much as I did the first season of American Vandal.
Nice.
Yeah, I really like it. It's just it's so funny to see a show handle such dumb comedic material so seriously, and that's the whole point of the show. And it it hits. And it's one of those shows that if they tweak things in the slightest way, it could definitely fall flat, but they manage it so expertly. So I'm trying to finish those two shows in time for the upcoming Daredevil Season 3, and I'm really into the chilling adventures of Sabrina, which is the Sabrina the Teenage Witch show on Netflix. They recently released the first trailer for that, and that looks really cool. Way more horror than I expected. I knew it was going to have horror vibes in it, but I didn't know they were going to, crank the knob up as much as they did. And super interested in that. I don't know if that's a show I'll continue watching, but it has me for episode 1 at the very least. So, yeah, it's pretty much it for me. What about you guys?
Spider-Man, I platinumed it. I don't know if we talked about it. Yeah. I mean, we talked about the game, of course.
Yeah.
I don't have too much else to add, but yeah, it was a bit grindy at the end, but it was good. It's a good game. I like it. It's a great game. After that, I played a few rounds of Battlefront 2. Yeah.
Nice.
You heard that right. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get back in there and see if that Clone Wars stuff they said they were going to put out came out yet, and like if I can play as Obi-Wan and General Grievous yet. I don't think that's out yet. I guess I could look that up, but didn't seem to be available. I did get to play in like a Naboo level I didn't remember from like the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
The Naboo hangar.
Were you feeling the microtransactions?
No, they're not. I mean, they're not there anymore. Like, I don't know.
They haven't come back, right? They said they were going to come back, but I don't know if maybe they came back less intrusively.
Yeah, I tried looking for them a few months ago when I was playing, and it was like, I think you can buy credits, but you can't, because you can't buy loot crates, from what I understand. I could be wrong on any of this, but I think you can buy credits and use that to buy extra skins, like, the ones you want. Yeah, they're expensive, but like the Han Solo, the younger Han Solo skin, I think you can buy straight up, but you can't. As far as I can tell, you can't buy loot crates anymore.
How was matchmaking? Yeah. Was there a decent player base? Like, did you have a long waiting time for matches or anything, or was it just normal?
Yeah, there's a shit ton of people still out there, so it's
cool.
Because I mean, they've said like they're still putting out major updates to this motherfucker.
Yeah, you just don't know how many people stay on board. Even like with the Star Wars game, it's like that game's already been out for, is it a year and a half or 2.5 years?
Dude, there's people playing Battlefront 1 at this point.
Not even a full year, because it was like November, I think it came out last year.
I thought it came out in 2016.
No, because 1 was in 2015.
Okay, yeah, I'm way off then, yeah. I mean, people still play it, Jordan, but I was specifically like with matchmaking, you can kind of tell how barren it is depending on how long it takes to find a match, you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And with this one, too, I guess, I mean, some of the game modes have a lot more people, which makes it tougher, but there's not that many game modes in general, so that helps.
Yeah. God, it hasn't been a year.
What I remember.
Sorry, right? It feels like it's been for like 2 years for me. I don't know why.
Because I'm thinking of the whole shitty single-player story, like.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah, there was a story in it.
Well, they were like hyping the fuck out of it, and it was just whatever.
Well, they were hyping that this one had a story. I don't know if they were necessarily hyping the story.
Well, no, because they hired Janita Gavankar, who's a great actress and did a great job in her, like motion capture role and shit. And even like, I think a couple of her crewmates were smaller actors, and then they hired Walt Williams. Is that his name?
Walt Williams and Mitch Dyer to write it. Yeah.
Yeah, and like he's written games before. I don't know. It was just like they acted like it was going to be a solid story.
He wrote Spec Ops: The Line, man, which is like
right. They acted like they were not that he and Mitch didn't put effort into it, but I'm saying EA as a whole.
From what they've said too, is like working with Star Wars and trying to get a story that's canon is hard enough. Like there was a lot of stuff that they had to like change, and they didn't talk negatively of it, but they basically said how hard it was to write a story for a Star Wars game. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
I think like the biggest problem I had, like the story itself wasn't terrible. It was actually pretty good, especially towards the end. It got good. Maybe a little cliche at points, but it was actually good, the story. But the way the story, was weaved into the gameplay did not work at all, right? So that's what if this was just a book, it would probably be better, much better. But that's something that like God of War and like Last of Us and Uncharted do like expertly, those kind of games that are like cinematic, like the story like fits with the gameplay so perfectly. Whereas Battlefield 2, the opposite of that. This is a bad example.
Battlefront 2.
Battlefront 2.
Isn't that what people complain about with Uncharted? Is like he's murdering all these people and then he's just like jostling around in the
he's
so
not talking about ludonarrative dissonance. He's talking about like just that the gameplay makes sense from like the action beats of the game make sense with the gameplay, as opposed to the character doing the actions doesn't make sense for the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's hard to describe, but I know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he's not talking about ludonarrative dissonance.
Regardless, like they have much better stories than this game, clearly. So
yes.
yeah, certainly. But anyway, played some more of that. It was good. It's a fun time. You got the heroes, you got the Siths and the Darth Mauls and all those folks. So that was good. And then, like I said, I popped into Life is Strange. That was something. Nothing to say on that. I'm gonna keep going on it. I think it seems cool so far. I thought there was one other thing. I've been watching Better Call Saul, of course. We got into that. I feel like there was something else, but I'm not remembering. So that's it.
Big Bang Theory final season. You've been watching that?
Wow, it's not even funny.
Sorry.
Are you still kind of going with Clone Wars?
Oh, that's what it was. That was the one more thing. And yes, I finished it.
The whole 6 seasons?
Yes.
Damn, are you going to watch Rebels?
Yeah, I was looking into it this week of like where I can watch it, and it's really difficult because like you pretty much can't. Yeah. Unless you buy the episodes like off like Amazon or Google Play, like $20 a season. There's nowhere to just like straight up stream it or whatever. So
they used to be on Netflix, and then they got taken off, I think. Yeah. I'm
gonna figure it out though. I just don't want to spend $30. It would be $60 or $80 for 4 seasons of that show. Granted, I'd own them digitally, but I don't really care to have that.
What was that joke just you were giving me shit for last week, Dom?
Yar.
I mean, I haven't done anything like that yet. At all.
All I'm saying
is,
is if you want to watch Rebels, we can make that happen. But Resistance is coming out this weekend?
Yeah, I'm skeptical on that one. Just it looks like it's gonna be not something I want to watch.
It's just the same team. The same team's done all 3 of these series.
Yeah, it's just the art style is different. Animation
not exactly the same team, but like the same main creators and executive producers.
The core. Is that everything done?
That's everything, yeah.
Jordan, what about you? We know you watch Better Call Saul.
Yep. Thanks for letting me jump in there. And so I'll give quick shout outs to some shows. Finished Justice League Unlimited Season 1. Finished Teen Titans Season 2. Finished Fate Zero. So it's Fate/Stay Night is a Japanese visual novel, and it's got a lot of spin-offs.
Is that what it is? I never would have guessed that's what that was based on that title.
Yep. There's a sequel called something Atroxia, Atroxia, but that's actually it's a Greek word. Atroxia is a Greek phrase, I guess, something like that. Anyways,
it's a god of Japanese anime.
That's exactly what the Greeks were talking about. Yeah.
Sorry.
But there's spin-offs and there's lots of anime, and there's basically like in the main visual novel there's like 3 different timelines that are separate from each other, but they involve the same characters, if that makes sense. And so some of the anime is kind of adapting those 3 timelines, and so I've finished the original anime series, then I finished Fate Zero, which was like the prequel series that is a lot of people consider one of the better anime series of all time, and now a newer one that's also being considered really great anime series, which is another timeline, Unlimited Blade Works, that I just started. So yeah, the Fate/Stay Night series is pretty good, Dom. But the original visual novel, I don't think I could play it unless I knew someone who was a pirate on the internet and could do like a ROM of a fan translation because there's no official release here in the United States. It really sucks, it's like they don't even want me to buy it. So, but anyways, got through that whole series. Comics, I'll just say that I'm basically caught up with like the main deal with the DC, I guess Rebirth you could call it. Teen Titans, Justice League. Jared, how many issues have you read of the new Justice League?
I'm caught up. I haven't read the one that came out yesterday, so I haven't read 9.
So you've read the first 8?
Yeah.
And I just read issue 1 of that, but like I caught up with Teen Titans. It kind of sucks that they changed the whole team up. Like, I'm even cool with this new team, but I was really just into where this original team was going. And I read Heroes in Crisis #1. I think that was really fucking cool.
It's very divisive.
Jared,
some people hate it, some people love it. I really liked it.
No, it's great. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know how canon it is or whatever, because spoilers, it talks about, it just shows Arsenal and Flash Wally West just dead as fuck. So I don't know if that's, how real it is, but it basically deals with PTSD in some really cool ways with superheroes, and I really enjoyed that. Read the first couple issues of Doomsday Clock, which is going to be ending later on this year, and for it being essentially like a Watchmen pseudo sequel, I really don't think it's bad. It's written by Jeff Johns, first of all. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, and it's not like disrespectful or fucking anything up, about Watchmen. I think it's a cool way if you were going to do a type of sequel. I'm enjoying it so far, 2 issues in, so I think there's 7 currently. And then I'm caught up with Justice League Dark, which is really fucking cool because Wonder Woman's leading this team. And did you read the Witching Hour special?
No, that dropped yesterday. I haven't read that yet, but all the other ones I'm caught up on.
That's like going into an event that they're doing that's crossing over with the Wonder Woman comic, which I'm not caught up with. So that stuff's really cool too. Really dealing like deep, thick fucking magic stuff over there in that comic.
Thick.
And yeah, lots of other DC stuff, and then of course I've been kind of just reading my weekly stuff. It's cool to finally, for once in my fucking life, generally be caught up with DC and then Marvel Fresh Start, not the other stuff that's still going from All New, All Different Marvel, but definitely the Marvel Fresh Start stuff. So have you read Fantastic Four #2, Jared?
Yeah, caught up on that as well.
Really fucking cool where that's going. Yeah, I won't talk about all the fucking comics.
One thing I wanted to say, there's 2 things real quick.
Shout-outs.
Well, we're still in comics. One, today Brian Michael Bendis announced that he's bringing a Young Justice comic, and it's going to have Connor Kent, Tim Drake, and can't remember the third person that's for sure going to be in it.
So
Impulse.
is this based in the TV show universe or the comics universe?
Comics, I think. It's still going to have the 3 main characters,
Really?
Tim Drake, Connor Kent, and Impulse. But I don't know. I'm assuming it's in the comic universe, but they didn't mention either way.
Because I mentioned Connor Kent, Superboy coming through in Super Sons of Tomorrow, but that was like a futuristic version.
Yeah, this is
the same with Bart Allen.
Yeah, so I don't know. We'll find out. Dom, the thing I want to tell you is there's a completed series called Batman White Knight. Have you ever heard of it?
Nice.
I think we talked about it because the storyline was it was something different, really different.
So Batman Damned just started. That's the one with Batman Dick in it, and then Batman White Knight is Jared.
It's basically a story where the Joker becomes Jack Napier again, and he becomes the White Knight of Gotham.
Oh,
so
okay, we did not talk about this.
So it's a completed series. You can read all of it now. You can get it. And I barely started, and I'm already enthralled. It's basically an event happen. I don't want to ruin the comic for you. An event happens at the beginning of the comic that turns the Joker back into Jack Napier, and he basically is super intelligent, obviously, and it's his goal to kind of take Gotham back from the Gotham City PD and from Batman, and he's called the White Knight. It's really interesting. So it's just something I think you might be interested in reading. It's a completed series. You don't have to worry about anything else. It's tied into its own thing. It's also part of the Black Label, I want to say, but I'm not too sure. It's really interesting.
So I'll just... Actually, I think Damned is the first Black Label comic, but White Knight might as well be. I'll just say DC and Marvel too, but especially DC, I think, are putting out plenty of like mini-series that don't really have any connection. They just don't have any connection, I should say, to the main like comics universe, so they're way easier to jump in on, and they're, it's a lot of really interesting stuff. So that's actually, since we're kind of, wrapping up comics conversation, I'm trying to like finish catching up on a couple of books that I'm in on for DC Rebirth, and then probably go back for a couple of individual books like Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, stuff like that. And then I want to get around to those series that we're talking about here, those mini-series that they've been releasing.
I know you don't read a lot of comics now, but I know you love Batman. So like I read this and I was like, oh, this is super interesting.
They've actually, with Batman Damned, Batman White Knight, and there's a fucking another one just
Kings of Fear
really released. Kings of Fear is a good example, but yeah, they're just like separate mini-series, usually less than 6 issues, 6 at most, and they're really good stuff. Creature of the Night's one of them, but there's another one that I'm thinking of.
We're running a little long.
I have
Sorry, go ahead, Dom.
I have like an Amazon wish list of like 10 different Batman comics that I want to get around to. The ones you probably, if you ask anyone, where to start, they'd probably give you some of those. So I like bookmarked all those. Like one day I'm gonna get to
Returns and all those. Yeah.
Do you have a tablet, Dom?
No, I have a larger phone. So
yeah,
that was.
I like
good for
reading. I have an iPhone 6s Plus. I like reading comics on that, but I also like reading comics on the iPad.
Before we go on to the news, Jordan, let us know what you've been playing.
Yeah, so I'll just jump around real quick with these. Into the Breach, we talked about in our chat. Thank fucking God someone finally put a setting in for different font sizes in handheld mode versus docked TV mode. Fucking thank you, Into the Breach. Sorry, do you know the developer's name, Jared?
I'll look it up for you real quick.
It's escaping me. But really cool game, Dom. It's like, have you seen the footage of it? It's like a grid, tiny little grid, and it's the super sci-fi. It's actually like a time travel game where it makes it roguelike. If you fuck up in your little strategy simulation that you're doing, you just jump to a new timeline, and it's the same places that you've unlocked, but you gotta like redo the battles essentially. And I'd say it's procedurally generated, it seems like.
Subset Games, the same guys who did FTL.
Subset FTL?
They did Subset Games. They also did FTL before they did
FTL. Faster Than Light. Yeah, cool. So yeah, Into the Breach is really cool. And anything else I want to say about that? I love the pixel art and the sci-fi vibe and the time travel shit. And the strategy is very difficult. I've been playing so much strategy lately, especially on the Switch with like Banner Saga and even Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. But Into the Breach, it's like every decision you make, you're like, despite you're cutting off your hand despite your nose, cutting off just your nose despite your face. Is what I was trying to say. But basically, despite your nose. But anyways. It just like every decision fucks you up in one way, but you just have to make this decision to get this one thing to go away, and you don't even have to defeat your enemies, Dom, to end the battle. You just have to finish the amount of turns that they want you to get through because of the way.
It's like a Fire Emblem thing.
Like, well, it's just like humanity's being overrun by these Vec bug aliens, and so they're basically just trying to hold them off until they fly away for a little while. It's really different, and it's really interesting, really, like I said, cool vibes to the game. And then, holy shit, I got so far into the rabbit hole with Lumines Remastered on Switch, guys. It is absolutely insane.
God, Greg Miller over here.
It's like a musical Tetris, I guess, and it's really, really hard to get started in. It's very difficult to get over the hump with and like learn your way in. But once you get it, man, it is such a flow state game, and that's what I was trying to to get with it. That's what I was hoping for, and it is fucking cool. And yeah, enjoying it a lot, and I've had some very long sessions. Play it here on the TV for several hours, grab the Switch out of the dock, go to my mom's house, play for 3 hours, run the battery down, come back, dock it, and play again on the TV. Kind of like second screen it while I'm doing something on the big screen, watching a podcast or a TV show, some bullshit anime or whatever. So those 2 games especially, and then I've been jumping around some of the normal Switch games that I've been playing, some more, a little bit of Setsuna and Mario and Rabbids, as I talked about. Then, I've been wanting, Setsuna wasn't really doing it for me on the JRPG front, so I've been wanting something like that, and I just can't fucking do Octopath at $60. So I was like, oh shit, I can go on my 3DS and play Bravely Default, which is that studio's earlier JRPG, and I have been enjoying the shit out of it. Matter of fact, there's some timers I should be keeping up with here as I describe this to you. Just making sure that, my farm back home, basically I'm like farming, you're rebuilding stuff back home in your hometown, and you're like, they're giving you potions and shit if you build a shop up, if that makes sense. So it's a good little game. It's a fun little time. But really, I would say this is probably the best example of one of these like throwback JRPGs that are all about the quality of life shit, and I'm all about that. So you can fast forward through battles, obviously. They're great about telling you, on the second screen on the 3DS, you've got this little anime fairy chick talking to you, and she basically just reminds you what your objective is. And it's so great if you're jumping back in, or if you've been out grinding, doing whatever. It's really nice to have that. And then the reason it's called Bravely Default is because you're braving and defaulting. So braving, you're like stacking up attacks, and so you can hit your enemy with like 4 attacks, but then you're not going to be able to use that character for several turns. And so if you're defaulting, then you're defending, and you're kind of waiting, and you're like saving up a turn. And so then you could default several times and then unleash several turns, and then you're still ready to go when it comes back around to that character. Lots of, like I said, quality of life, but then interesting battle stuff that they've implemented, and the story's solid. There's plenty of goofy anime JRPG shit in there, but it evolves around a fucking world crystal or whatever that keeps the world alive. It's classic JRPG bullshit, but there's a lot of really interesting, cool shit there too. And then basically what I was mentioning and checking earlier is you check back on your hometown and rebuild up these different shops, and they can give you potions, they can give you weapon upgrades, or even magic upgrades, whatever it may be. When you buy magic, you share it between the whole team, and then you just change the jobs like you would Final Fantasy game. So your character's a white mage. She can use all the scrolls that you've bought for those magic techniques, or whatever you want to call it, magic moves. And so there's also this thing where you basically kind of have 2 jobs going at once. You have your main job, and then you have moves that you can use from a second job that you've unlocked. And so each character is kind of able to bounce back and forth, and there's just a lot of really cool shit with the battle system, and I've been playing it quite a bit. So Bravely Default, pretty cool. And then I think that'll be a better way to do it, play this studio's earlier game, and then probably pick up Octopath once it's a little cheaper, because it does look really cool, and it also looks like it's pushing even further on some of this stuff that I'm talking about. So
you're not going to play Bravely second?
No, I'm saying I'm probably playing these 2, and by
gotcha.
Then I think Octopath will probably be cheap enough to where I'll get into it.
Yeah. Sounds interesting. Bravely Default was a game that I wanted to get into, but by the time I got around to wanting to play a JRPG, I had already bought the Switch, so I was like, I'll just wait for Octopath, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not that I wouldn't play it. Like, I would love if that game got ported to Switch.
Yeah, there's so many. It'd be nice if there was like a 3DS Virtual Console, and that would be a little bit hard because it's different,
dual
with
screen.
the way the screens work.
Yeah.
The dual screens work, but yeah, there's a lot of 3DS games that would be great on the Switch, and yeah, they would look not as great because they are like blown out, but a lot of great games there on the 3DS that are still worth playing.
Let's hop into the news. First story revolves around actually one of Jordan's favorite developers, CD Projekt Red. So CD Projekt Red has announced in a recent posting that they received a demand for payment from the author of the Witcher series, Sapkowski. So according to Sapkowski's lawyer, he's seeking $16.1 million, stating that the studio exceeded its right to use the IP. Sapkowski also stated he's willing to meet with the studio by October 19th to work out the matter. CD Projekt Red has already responded to this and rejected the request on the basis that he wants additional royalties exceeding what was previously agreed upon.
Yeah.
To this story, last year during an interview with Eurogamer, Sapkowski stated, "They offered me a percentage of their profits. I said, no, there will be no profit at all. Give me all the money right now. The whole amount. It was stupid.
Yep.
I was stupid enough to leave everything in their hands because I didn't believe in their success. But who could foresee their success? I couldn't." Yeah.
He's been salty ever fucking since. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah. It's interesting because a lot of people feel that oh yeah, CD Projekt Red doesn't deserve to, they don't need to pay him, which I agree with. But there's actually part of Polish legislation with trademark that states that they basically have wording in there that states that you can get money back even if a deal had already been put in place if basically if they burned the people who created the intellectual property, or if they made so much money that it doesn't justify the original deal. There's wording in the Polish in Polish law that basically states that Sapkowski can potentially get money from them. So it's not
they have made a lot of fucking money off of a tiny little deal.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Dom?
Man, shit like that, I don't know. I get it a lot of times because that's what that kind of thing is really made for. Because we have some instances in the United States where there's, even if you agreed to certain things, if it's kind of obvious that you got quote unquote not like scammed, even if you should have known, in some cases you can win back money, right?
But a lot of our stuff is more pro corporation than creator, though, in the United States.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something like this would not fly here, because especially when he's gone on record saying I screwed up, I didn't believe in them, so he would definitely not get shit here. But it's that same kind of idea. But yeah, they are much more generous to individuals, I guess, over there. Apparently, at least the way that law was written. But I don't know. I think that's dumb.
Yeah, and as a creator, obviously, I think we all are under the assumption that we want people to get paid for what they created. But the problem is they offered this guy a percentage of it. You know what I mean? And he declined it. Right. So I have no sympathy for somebody who doesn't do their research, and basically takes the raw end of it, and then is spiteful later on and is petty. And like Jordan said, he's been like this ever since. I would say probably Witcher 2. I don't think Witcher 1 was hugely successful. I think their success really started getting ramped up with Witcher 2. And
Witcher 1 was a mod based off another game. It was weird. So yeah, Witcher 2 was the shit. But.
And we've talked about before, a lot of the reason why publishers have made the Witcher games in English is because of the games. You know what I mean? There's books that still haven't even been published in English, which is crazy.
Yeah, there's still another book we need, and it's he's probably made so much more money off of the books than he ever would have imagined, just selling them in Poland and Europe. So, yeah, it's a weird situation, but I'm just glad to see that, this cool fucking franchise is thriving either way, so...
And they also, CD Projekt Red came out and said, we like working with the people we get the intellectual property from. We don't want this to, we're basically the person who made Cyberpunk, the board game.
Cyberpunk, the board game, yeah. They, made videos with him and stuff, so yeah.
Yeah, and they basically want to say, this isn't how we treat everybody we work with. This is, we care about the people we get the intellectual property from. And I'm pretty sure that guy made the better bet of, I'll take a percentage of profits. I'm not going to take a lump sum. And actually, there's another book series called, I think, The Mist Room or The Mist something. It's a very popular book series. And that the creator of that book series came out and said that he would love if CD Projekt Red made something out of his property, and I guess it's very beloved. And he said, honestly,
Do you know what style, like genre or style it is?
I'd be lying if I said yes. I have no idea. I just saw this was a thing people were talking about.
Liar.
And he was like, I'd even be willing to give it for free, because his whole thing was like, though I created the property, they're turning it into something else for a whole new audience. It's pretty interesting to hear him talk about that. Of
That's
like,
wild.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a little too far.
But that's a different perspective from a different artist, right? People have different perspectives on the stuff they make. So for one person, it's about actually creating the thing, and the other person, it's, who knows?
You said it's called The Mist Room?
It's the Mist something. I have no idea. It's the Mist something series. Class A information. I think we're all like on the same page there of like, it sucks that you got, screwed out of all that money, but it was your fault. So I don't think any of us feel bad for him necessarily. The way he's handled it too, very petty. The second news story, a new Nintendo Switch model is potentially coming in 2019. So this is originally reported by the Wall Street Journal, but I had to go to Kotaku to get the story because Wall Street Journal is a subscription-based site, because they're still back in 2005. So the Wall Street Journal is reporting that Nintendo will be introducing a new version of its popular Switch console next year. The report says that Nintendo hopes to boost the sales momentum of the Switch, which has dropped off since its meteoric launch. Wall Street Journal claims that this new model would likely share many features with the current version and be compatible with existing Switch game software. It also says that Nintendo is still debating what new hardware and software features to include in the quote-unquote upgrade, with one option on the table being an upgraded screen closer to those found in the more recent smartphone LCDs, which would make it brighter, thinner, and more energy efficient. A lot of people initially saw this story and they're like, oh god, they're making a new Switch already, in terms of like, oh, it's not going to be compatible with the stuff I already own. Obviously, dude, this is going to be like, I don't even think as strong as like the PlayStation Pro or the PlayStation 4 Pro or the Xbox One X. I think it's just more of like a slim model. It's like an Xbox One S type thing. I'm not interested in it personally because I already recently purchased this Switch, so I'm not really looking towards buying a new one. But
Right. I'll say this. I think I had more sync issues with my Joy-Cons this week when two of my buddies were already playing Mario Kart on my Pro controllers, and I wanted to jump in with my Joy-Cons. And I realized that I have a smaller living room with a lot of electronics, but none of my other systems have this issue. And I've just had so many little hardware issues here and there with Switch, and it just seems like there's been a lot of shoddy stuff that they rushed out the door and is uncharacteristic of Nintendo. And regardless of what this thing looks like, I'm just upset with the way my Switch hardware has handled, essentially. And this doesn't seem like they're really even fixing the problems I'm looking at mostly. So yeah, it's just the one thing that I really don't love about the Switch is kind of the shoddiness of the hardware, I would say.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, obviously, you take those risks as being early adopters, and I'm not saying it's justified, like we deserve to have those issues, but it is a risk you take when early adopting. And they said there's a lot of...
Yeah, but like a launch PS4 is, probably still running pretty decent at this point, I would say.
Sounds like a jet engine, but yeah, it's still running.
Yeah, I mean, the PS4 Pro, like even Digital Foundry's talked about, they just sound like jet engines. Like, that's not a strong suit of these consoles, sure.
Yeah.
But, launch Xbox One, like, I was talking about playing Lumines at my mom's house. My brother has not a launch Xbox One, but, like, the original Xbox One within
the VCR.
A year or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the VCR of it coming out, and it works totally fine. Even though my mom set a drink next to it and turned the console off because that button is way too fucking sensitive. But you just like brush up next to it and it turns it off.
That's the console I have.
Netflix.
Bought it 2 months after it launched.
We were just watching Netflix. But anyways, yeah, like these consoles are still holding up at least decently well. There's plenty of them, of those two that I just described, that have failed at this point. But like the Switch is in a whole different ball game when we're talking about hardware consistency and dependability, and that just sucks, man. That sucks.
Yeah. They said there's a lot of options on the table, so though they mentioned the better screen, that isn't the only thing they're looking at. But like you said, it would be great if they said, "Oh, one of the other ones they're definitely looking at is fixing the Joy-Con issues or the real problems people have with it." Right? So we'll see.
So. What's the what is it, like a 7-inch screen?
I'd assume, yeah.
That we have now. I'll look it up right now.
We're probably
sounds right.
I would like a lot bigger screen. Like honestly, I know it would be kind of like unwieldy, but if I had a 10-inch screen, that would be really nice.
I think if anything, they'd go
iPad
smaller
size.
than bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying, knowing Nintendo.
No, I would just love to have an iPad. Like I'm looking this screen stuff. Okay, it's 6.2 inch, 720p. If it was this, what I'm looking at this on, which is an iPad, this is more than 1080p. But if it was a 1080p 10-inch screen, that would be fucking awesome, I think.
And we'll probably see this the January Direct, I assume, is where it gets announced. Usually, Nintendo doesn't do this type of stuff at E3 where they show off new hardware. Normally, none of them do. It's usually an event before E3. So we know that we get those Nintendo January Directs. January and March are usually the two big dates at the beginning of the year. So we'll probably see it then.
Think of how the Joy-Cons would fit into a 10-inch screen because they're not that size.
Jesus.
It was
just a bunch of extra room on top and bottom. They look like baguettes from Olive Garden.
Oh, God.
Dom, do you have anything to say about this, or you want to move on?
No, I mean, until we see more, yeah, it's probably just the DSi to the DS or whatever type of deal. More efficient, maybe slightly better screen. I think efficiency is probably going to be the big difference. Like the 1S is way more electricity efficient than the One for Xboxes, right? That's just something that when they keep the power the same, the power of the processor is the same. Over time, the new chips can use way less electricity, which for the Switch is it's very, very important, more so than the home consoles because it's portable, so potentially get more battery life on a new one. That's probably the biggest draw, I bet.
Not to go too far into that rabbit hole, I was actually mentioning, I put up a video in our chat about like the power delivery process that Nintendo uses for the Switch, and it's really weird, and it doesn't follow like a lot of standard protocols, and it means that you can like break your Switch if you're using a third-party dock and all this shit. Yeah. So it'd be interesting if this fixed some of those problems. I'm doubtful that it will, but yeah. And then I just think that it would be nice to have an updated Switch. But like what you were saying, Tom, you're saying DSi to DS Lite. I would rather it be a DS Lite to DS if I was gonna like actually look into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because DS to DS Lite, that's a big upgrade, but DS Lite to DSi is not anything worth worrying about.
To be honest, I don't remember the differences between
the
those.
DS compared to the DS Lite is kind of a piece of shit because it's like clunky and chunky and it doesn't have a backlight, so you need
that was a bigger
DS
jump.
Lite.
Okay.
You need at least a DS Lite if you're going to play DS games,
Yeah. Let's get to the next story here. We were wondering, obviously we had the announcement of XO18 last week by Xbox. We were wondering, is PSX canceled? We don't know. They've announced it later than this date. Who knows? We got the confirmation actually the day after last week's recording via the PlayStation Blogcast. On the latest PlayStation Blogcast, Shawn Layden, PlayStation Worldwide Studios chairman, stated, and I quote, "For 2018, I know this is going to be a disappointment for some people, but we decided not to hold PlayStation Experience this year. The reasons behind that really are we have a lot of progress that we're making on our games. Now that we have Spider-Man out the door, we're looking down into 2019 games like Dreams and Days Gone, but we wouldn't have enough to bring people all together in the same location. We don't want to set expectations really high and then not deliver on that. It was a hard decision, but we have determined that this year we will not hold PlayStation Experience. Part of our commitment is that going forward, we're going to amp that up. We're going to crank communications up and find more ways to get our message out and get a view into what our activities are and what our hopes and dreams are, if you will, for PlayStation and for Worldwide Studios." It's a very mumbled message of a lot of like ands and does and.
I mean, if I can just jump in, I'd like to say that they've just fumbled shit for about a year now. As far as after E3 2017, they've just been doing fucked up shit. Like the couches at PSX last year And I'm not necessarily even convinced that they were planning on doing it last year, and then they brought together this whole couch bullshit. And my thing is, like, if you're going to do some couch shit, bring it at E3 next year. But no, they decide to be artsy experimental and build a fucking church for the Last of Us demo and all this dumb bullshit that takes 10-minute intermission where we're announcing pre-show games. And it's like, they've just done so much stupid bullshit recently, and their games are too good to be, fumbled around outside of the demos,
Yeah. My biggest hang-up, and I was talking with you on the messages about this, Dom, and I'm probably reading too much into it, obviously, but when he says looking down into 2019 games like Dreams and Days Gone, it's weird to me that he didn't mention Last of Us 2 or Death Stranding, and I know those don't have dates, but neither does Dreams, right? Days Gone has a 2019 date. Dreams doesn't. So it's weird to me that he wouldn't mention those other games, but mention Dreams. And I don't know if that's him. Yeah. It's either him not wanting to obviously spoil Last of Us Part 2 or Death Stranding, or it could be that he wants people to know Dreams is finally going to be coming out. We're getting this goddamn game out. You know what I mean? It's just weird that he chose those two titles. For me. I don't know.
I think it's just him talking. And
yeah.
Even though he's better at talking than most of us, that's just maybe what he was thinking about most recently. Maybe he just got out of a meeting where those are the bigger topics. So it's all those times where we're talking, we can't think of something off the top of our head.
Yeah.
Even though we know it. It could be something as simple as that. And that's what I would bet on. I think maybe reading too much into it, but it's a possibility that there's an actual reason for that, and maybe Last of Us, Death Stranding, we assume is way far out, but I mean, there could be a message about The Last of Us too. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's very with Shawn Layden. It's very word vomity. On stage, I like him as a presenter talking. He's gotten a lot better over the years, but if you're having casual conversation, I think Phil Spencer does that a lot better than Shawn Layden does. Shawn Layden tends to have a lot of these weird roundabouts that he goes over and over again.
Yeah.
It's just
he's telling Corey Barlog to finish the game. What?
Oh, that was very awkward. Yeah, on the couches last year. He's like, "Why are you here? Go finish the game." And Corey Barlog's like, "Dude, I'm dying."
You guys planned this. You fucking planned this.
You invited me here to talk about it. What are you doing?
Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about? Making people uncomfortable in this stupid, uncomfortable situation. Where did we get this quote from or whatever? Not Kotaku or whatever, but was he on a podcast?
Yeah, he was on the PlayStation Blogcast. This was him directly talking, and this was pulled from it. So that's why there's weird things where I pause, where he says the reasons behind that really are we don't have ... We have a lot of progress because he paused there.
Right.
So, yeah.
Man, that's even weirder because that's the PlayStation podcast where it could literally be scripted.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It's not like he was getting interviewed by someone and he didn't know.
Or he could have came with something.
You don't want it to seem like that, but he still should have they could have talked about the fact, we're going to talk about PSX or whatever, and he's like, I'm going to mention that it's canceled, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Definitely could have been prepped at least.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, for PlayStation fans, it sucks. It's really disappointing they're not going to have PSX. But in terms of last year, if this show is going to be the same as last year, then, it's good that it's canceled. People thought that, because this was canceled, that means we're getting PlayStation 5 announced early next spring. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's directly what he said, that they don't have a lot of stuff. And it's funny because for a couple of years there, PlayStation was like, here are all these exclusives, boom, 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 boom. And then they reached the end, the bad side of their strategy where it's well, everyone knows what you're coming out with already. So how are you going to continue getting people excited? And they realize that you can't really. Yeah, you release really great games, but in terms of building hype, it's once you announced everything, what do you do now that these games that you announced aren't out yet? But you don't have any new games to announce. You know what I mean?
So it's a weird. The goofy ass Tokyo Game Show where they were the PlayStation symbols were, racing this Dual Shock around space. They didn't do a Paris Games Week presentation this year, did they?
I don't think Paris Games Week's happened yet. Has it?
It's somewhere around this time. That's why
I'm Googling. Let me check.
Okay. We're going back and forth about looking shit up. We're trying to keep the corrections down.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we're getting the information correct. It's happening October 26th to the 30th, so it hasn't happened yet.
And they're doing it?
I don't know. The whole website I went to is in French, so yeah.
Good luck, my friend.
I'd assume they are, though. I assume they'll have a presentation there. With Dreams having the Game Informer article, too, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the release date at Paris Games Week announced. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just... I feel like we would know about, like, a presentation they were going to have at this point, and, yeah, it's just... PlayStation's kind of in a weird spot as far as how to show off their exclusives, what time, where, all this shit.
But the good thing is, this winter we have XO18, which is happening in November.
Yep.
We have the Game Awards, and we have the Kind of Funny indie showcase, or just showcase. It's probably going to be a lot of indie games. I doubt they'll have any. Oh, you didn't hear about this. So Greg Miller basically announced because PSX isn't happening. He said all developers and publishers message us because PSX isn't happening. We're going to do a Kind of Funny Games showcase, and people were emailing him trailers and stuff.
Fucking thing now, dude. This is going to be a thing.
It's cool. The people he's getting contacted by, he said there's some interesting stuff there. So I assume like mostly indie games.
It'll be kind of a thing this year, but like 2 years down the road, this is going to be a fucking thing. Just wait.
I want to get to the last story. So this one's interesting. Speaking of XO18, according to Resetera, and this is all rumor and conjecture, but there's a lot of information here. It's the reason I want to talk about it. Because I always want an excuse to talk about what Rocksteady's going to be doing next. Rocksteady's revealing new game at XO18. There is a rumor posted on the Resetera forums corroborated by different sources surrounding Rocksteady's next game and where we'll potentially see it unveiled. The rumor suggests that the game will be called Arkham Universe and will be unveiled
Batman Beyond,
and will be unveiled at Xbox's upcoming XO18 event that's set to return for the first time in a decade. Phil Spencer stated that Xbox fans should expect some big surprises during his announcement of the event in September. I want to go over the information that they provided on Resetera. Once again, take this with a massive grain of salt, but I figured we want to talk about it because all three of us love Batman. We really enjoy the Rocksteady games. So here's the rundown.
Arkham Universe.
You ready for this, Dom?
Bring it.
So I'm going to read the entire entry because it's actually not too long. Let me start off by saying that Rocksteady isn't making that Harry Potter game. That's Avalanche Software, WB's new studio they purchased last year. To all those who are hoping that Rocksteady was moving on from the Arkhamverse and making a different type of DC game, I'm sorry, but they aren't. There's no Justice League or Superman game in development. Rocksteady's new multiplayer Batman game is scheduled to get announced at XO18. Here's everything I know.
Oh, God! Oh,
listen.
Arkham Universe.
Title, DC's Arkham Universe. Release date, fall 2019. Release console, Xbox One X, Xbox One, PS4, PS4 Pro, PC. Single-player co-op, multiplayer-specific modes, so there will be a story campaign. Characters include the entire Bat family, Batman, Tim Drake, Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, Batwoman, Catwoman, Red Hood. Gotham is about 1.5 times the size of Arkham Knight. Districts and neighborhoods have gone through complete overhaul. Gotham is now a living, breathing city, in quotes. You can set time of day, and there's also differing weather, rain, overcast, snow. There are random crimes such as car chases, bank robberies, muggings, and so forth. I'm assuming like Spider-Man. That's me. That's my conjecture.
I'm hung up. There is no Superman game in development. That shit is crazy, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is all rumor. Who knows?
Statement.
This could easily be wrong.
But like, oh god, there is no Superman game in development. Like, what are you guys doing then?
Let's get to the second half of this
triple
information.
triads, DC.
Second half of this information. Arkham? The main villain of the game will be the Court of Owls. Story takes inspiration from the different Court of Owls storylines. Every character is available in free roam. Batman has a redesigned Batmobile, transport only, and the other characters have their cycles. Batcave serves as the main hub for upgrades, character swaps, new missions, and game modes. Gameplay similar to past Arkham games, but there are new options for co-op dual takedowns in combat and stealth. Stealth segments make you work together if you're playing in multiplayer. Parkour has been expanded. Characters move a lot quicker and more fluid. Main gadgets are the same except for a couple of new additions. New enemy types include Talons and Pilots, enemies that hover the battlefield. You have to either use a gadget or dual takedown to get them down. Talons are the same as the ninja types from Batman Arkham Knight. They can counter your counters and also have their own gadgets, knife, throwing knife, etc. Game takes place in the Arkhamverse,
Court of Owls is such a single-player thing, dude.
There's a single-player mode. Yeah, so
No, I know, but it's like that would be great for just a regular Arkham game, the Court of Owls. But
who's to know? Because he said single player, co-op, and multiplayer. Who's to say that this isn't a traditional Arkham game, but it has a multiplayer game mode? When you hear this information, it could be filtered differently. So who knows? There's a couple of things I want to get to.
It's kind of Destiny, where it's like you can enjoy the story by yourself or whatever.
So, game takes place in the Arkhamverse. Obviously, this is supposed to be Rocksteady's true "quote unquote" last hurrah of Batman games. Rocksteady. This is the second half, and then we'll get into all of our opinions on this. Rocksteady rumors have been coming in like hotcakes lately, and while this could be piggybacking off of the last flu, there seems to be at least some merit to it. Reddit users have identified that various Arkham Universe domains were registered by WB Interactive a few years ago when they did the same trademarks for the Arkham Origins, Arkham City remaster, and supposedly the canceled WB Montreal Arkham game when they were all created. With what we know about Rocksteady's game, that it isn't a Superman or Justice League game, but it is a game featuring superheroes and contains games as service multiplayer elements, so Destiny, this could very well be true. XO18 is about a month away, and while Rocksteady in the past was partnered with Sony, last year WB's other AAA studio, Monolith, had Shadow of War partnered with Microsoft. Possibly could be a turning of the tide for Warner Brothers.
Absolutely.
So, I don't want to necessarily discuss whether we think this is true or not, because obviously this is just a rumor and we could be like, oh yeah, it's whatever. I don't think there's any fun in that discussion. I want to talk to you guys for somebody who, I think both of you love the Arkham games more than I do. I really like them, but I think you guys really love them for the most part. I want to have your take on, if this game exists,
I like them a lot.
What's your opinion on it?
I also want to give a quick shout out. Say what you will about the Arkham games. The comics that are connected to them, not as good as the Injustice comics maybe, but the Arkham comics are pretty fucking solid. And my take on this, Jared, is that obviously I would like less of a Destiny and more of a regular type Arkham Court of Owls game. I don't know, the statement that there is no Superman game in development is pretty crazy, and it's just it's weird that so I watched the Marvel Rising little movie that Marvel did, and the animation that Marvel does is just not nearly anywhere close to DC. But now we see with Spider-Man, like, their games are really probably about to take the fuck off. And DC almost like started that way, but it's really only been with the Batman games, and I'm hoping that they're not getting like stuck in like an Arkham type rut here, and that their games can take off in other ways. Like there needs, we've heard about a canceled Suicide Squad game, which I guess would be the WB Montreal game. I don't know. There's just
the canceled Damian Wayne game.
Yeah, there's like all these rumors. Like we should be getting a Batman Beyond game. We should be getting a Suicide Squad game. We should be getting a Superman and a Justice League. And they can be like Spider-Man, and hopefully this upcoming Avengers game where they can be, self-contained. But yeah, I'm hoping they're not getting in Arkham rut here. We'll see.
Dom, what's your take?
That was a lot.
Yeah.
But, I mean, why not, I guess. I think, for me, I might have been more resistant to this, but Fallout 76 is kind of...
it's kind of what it sounds like.
Right, it kind of feels the same thing, where it's like typically a single-player thing is doing some new things and wants to, expand into a multiplayer type of world, not necessarily an MMO, not necessarily like a competitive multiplayer thing, but kind of its own unique thing. I don't know, that to me, I'm feeling a lot of similarities to that in what they're doing here. I mean, based on the rumor. And I think Fallout 76, while I was also hesitant at first, it started to grow on me, and I'm starting to like, okay, you know what, I'm going to give this a fair shake, which for me in multiplayer games is unusual. So and initially I was like, oh no, shaking my head like, I don't want this at all. But then by the time you were done reading all that, halfway through, I was like, you know what, this could be fucking really cool. This could be awesome. And obviously, like, we got to, if nothing else, you got to at least let them present it before you make... Even then, what you could call it prejudgment, let alone playing the game before you judge it or watching a review. But I think this could be really cool, and I'm looking at it probably more optimistically than I assume that everyone on, if that was is Resetera like a forum or something?
Yeah, it's the biggest like forum where they break rumors and speculation and news and stuff.
So
that's why I
it's
even
like
included it.
So it's like the new gaff.
Yeah,
whatever.
it's gaff. It's gaff. Yeah.
They basically took the bones from gaff, like a lot of moderators from gaff made Resetera, right, Jared?
Yeah, once the owner was found to be a complete POS. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so I just
wait, what? What is a POS?
A piece of
shit.
Yeah.
But you could be saying like a person of
suspect
savagery.
Yeah,
savagery. That'd be cool. But no, I feel like the internet, is probably gonna like shit on this idea right out of the gate. Like, nah, like we want Superman or Justice League, or we just want a better Arkham game.
There is no Superman game in development, Dom. What the fuck?
But I think let's give this a chance. I think this could be really, really cool.
So going into this discussion is so funny. I thought you two are going to be vehemently opposed to it, right? Just because of your take on it. You guys are more single player guys, right? That's what I assumed.
Not that you guys got the story there. If they've got the story and they do Court of Owls right, that could be cool because they make good Arkham stories.
Yeah. Funny enough, I really dislike this.
I will say the obsession with Court of Owls, like they've done it in the animated movies. Obviously, it started in the comics, and now it's making its way to the games. Like, it's the latest, like big, kind of hallmark Batman arc and event, if you will. And so I hope we're not getting too hooked up on Court of Owls, just in general.
Well,
sorry.
You can go, Dom, and then I'll say what I want to say. So
Dom.
Okay, picture this. Like, the core gameplay is like you described, and you got your co-op people coming in and whatever it is. But, like, imagine, kind of like Dark Souls style. Like, you invade someone else's Gotham, and even with your buddies, like, you and a group of your ganker fucking asshole buddies, invade someone's Arkham world, and, like, are robbing a bank. And then, like, you gotta like beat out the clock before like that player's Batman comes to stop you or whatever. Then you fight Batman as a random thug. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have to be done right. But
I thought you were talking about certain characters. I thought you were going to talk about somebody like Red Hood, who I gotta give a quick swerve shout out to Red Hood's new look in the comics, dude. He looks like a combination between Red Hood, obviously, and Casey Jones. He has like a crowbar now, and he has like just like this cool jacket on and this mask with a hood over his head. Like, he looks very much like Casey Jones. And if they have a Red Hood, DC Rebirth Casey Jones skin in this game, then I'm giving it my stamp of approval.
Yeah. So I don't, when I was talking about it, I wasn't talking about Court of Owls necessarily that I disliked. I don't like. For me, Batman is such a solitary character and deals with things on his own. It's kind of like one of his flaws is that he doesn't want help a lot of the times. He thinks he can figure it out himself. So for me, playing a games as a service game with other people kind of pulls me out of the immersion. You know what I mean?
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, it would. Don't get me wrong. It would be cool to play with my friends, and I'm a Nightwing on his bike, and somebody else is Batwoman or Batgirl or whatever. If they had the Batgirl of Burnside costume, that'd be dope. Like,
I don't know how well you can see this. I think you can see it pretty well.
Yeah, he looks like a Noob Saibot or somebody from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, but like it just reminds me of a crossover between him and Casey Jones, and I would love to see like him robbing some banks or whatever.
Like, if you've seen Smoke from Mortal Kombat 10, his whole face thing is completely that.
Yeah.
So I lost my train of thought. So I dislike the multiplayer aspect of it. Which is funny because usually I'm the one that's like, let's give it a chance, and Dom is like, nah, I'm good, and you're the one that's like, let's give it a chance. That being said, I do think there's a lot of validity to this because you know what this would give them a lot of experience and a lot of feedback for? A Justice League game. If you make a Batman game where you play multiplayer and everyone has a different character, people will be willing to buy into that, right? Because they already love the other Rocksteady Batman games. So if you get that experience of having multiple players in a game, and it's a games of service game, that gives you a lot of experience for a Justice League game. Like, a lot of experience.
First of all, we don't necessarily... I mean, this is still kind of a lock-in, but it looks like, I guess, Rocksteady's going down the train of, like, pretty much being a DC studio, you know, that makes like DC video games. And I think a better stepping stone to Justice League for them would have been a Superman game. You know, just a singular Superman game, because he's going to be hard to implement. And then, what, are you going to make the Justice League like 6-7 members, and you're incorporating Flash and Hawkgirl or somebody like that, and it's just as well as Superman and Batman, and then Wonder Woman and maybe a Green Lantern. So it's like, yeah, I think a Superman game should be what they're bringing out, but I think this will be cool too.
Yeah. For me, with this whole report, I think the one thing that I have the most believability in is that we could see it at XO18. Other than that, everything else could completely be wrong, and it could not be a Batman game, it could not be a multiplayer game, whatever. It could not be called Arkham Universe. I think the thing that holds the most possibility out of this entire thing is that we could see Rocksteady's game at XO18 or Game Awards. You know what I mean? Everything else, I'm like, maybe. So, who knows? Anything else you guys want to say before we move out to closing the show? No?
You know, those concept art images of Brainiac and Doomsday and Superman for that Superman game, I thought we were getting, you know, Brainiac looked super dope in Justice League No Justice, the recent comic event, and don't get me started on the Cyborg suits, but he gave Cyborg a really cool suit. It just sucks that we're not getting like more Superman shit, because yeah, obviously Batman's my fucking dude, but like Superman does deserve to have his own fucking video games, like the awesome Spider-Man shit that we just got, or like the awesome Arkham games we've got. So
Jordan, consider this. More impossible than anything maybe we've ever talked about. What if this is a ruse? What if one of their developers went and put this rumor out into the world, and then come XO 2018, they reveal a standalone single-player Superman game that they've been working on for years, and it's just been, and they have a demo, and it looks nuts.
There is no awesome Superman game in development.
But also, what if this is?
I want to get to like Green Lantern games and stuff like that, but who knows?
What if this is W Montreal's game? They have so many employees, they haven't made anything in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And the time that they're taking, that could be spent on trying to figure out multiplayer, right? So,
well, the whole Suicide Squad cancel game that they had, who the fuck knows, man?
We'll see.
The DC games, like I said, like I kind of started with, I just feel like they're in a weird state, unfortunately.
And
as opposed to the Marvel games.
If you could only take, like I said earlier, if you could only take one thing and you're like, this needs to be true, it'd be seeing Rocksteady's game by the end of this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's fucking do it, you know. I want that Red Hood Casey Jones skin. Let's fucking go, boys.
Let's close out the show that we're going to be playing. So, more Forza Horizon 4 for me. Obviously, Assassin's Creed Odyssey comes out. I already have that pre-downloaded, ready to go. Can't wait to jump into that. My big thing with it, and I don't want to, we can have this discussion whenever we get around to playing the game, is that I think I'm going to really love Odyssey like I really enjoyed Origins. The thing that sucks, though, is I love it because of the game it is and not because it's an Assassin's Creed game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Origins is an Assassin's Creed game from the core DNA, and I don't think Odyssey is. I'm not saying that means they're bad games. I think they're great games, but these games aren't what Assassin's Creed is at its DNA. Like, it sucks. Yeah. Like we talked about in our messages, I wish there was games coming alongside these, like, you know, that were actually in the DNA of what we know for Assassin's Creed. So
I wish they would just do Assassin's Creed games with that core DNA that you're talking about, but then stop doing this bashful, skittish RPG one step at a time. Just make it a fucking RPG, but with the core DNA, and, like, you know, actually do something with the story that everybody's wondering about, with the whole general story of the series. And I don't know,
also debating going to see Venom this weekend or maybe next weekend. I was planning on seeing it this weekend, but boy howdy, I saw a couple of reviews that said this movie is potentially worse than Halle Berry's Catwoman, which I'm like,
my God.
Jesus.
I thought you were gonna say Spider-Man 3.
No, like worse than that, like Catwoman levels of bad. And then I've seen other people say that it's funny, but then when you read into that, they say, yeah, I was laughing at these parts that were probably meant to be emotional beat in the movie, which isn't good, but I guess it works.
I definitely think this is a movie that'll be like watching on my couch, and like the effects, they look decent, and it looks like a decent Venom. They're not terribly like fucking it up, so it's like, yeah, it sucks, you know. Same thing with the games, man. It sucks that we're not getting like awesome Venom movies and awesome, obviously DC live action movies. It's weird how they can fuck these things up so bad. X-Men, obviously, but you know, it is what it is.
There's other stuff that'll probably be playing as well, but that's it for me. What about you guys?
Guys. All right. There's one thing. There's one thing. Oh,
Assassin's
shoot,
Creed
that's right.
Odyssey has got you all up in a tizzy.
Oh no.
Nope. I forgot about
Mario
God of War 3
Party.
actually. Yeah, I'm gonna play God of War 3 actually. I forgot all about that, but thanks for bringing it up. But what I was getting exciting about is what Jordan just said. Super Mario Party. The reviews are looking good. At least in comparison to other Mario Party games, I think the reviews are looking really good.
The weird complaint is that people are mad that they limited it to 20-turn games, and I'm like, that's fine. I never want to play a game longer than 20 turns.
I remember, like, you used to have the option.
Because I got so fucking burned on tennis that I just can't spend 60 on this game, and I'm gonna have to wait and wait for this game. And it's probably better than tennis in the long run, but I just got burned. Like, there's great parts of tennis, but just like there's a lot of it I just got burned on. Man.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. Oh, back to your first point, Jared. Yeah, I remember, like, you used to have the choice, right? Like 20 or 40 turns or whatever did you want to play, right? And yeah, I remember as a kid, like, if you did the longest amount, which I think was 50, like, that was just it was a marathon, and you got sick of it by the end. So I'm with you. Where like 20-turn games, that's fine for me, man. That actually seems ideal, to be honest.
It's like an hour and a half to 2 hours, give or take. That's like fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine with
that's a
that.
long ass time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was weird. I agree with you. That was weird that people complained. But I've read a few reviews, and it seems like that the core mechanics are going back to like what the original Mario Party games were about.
Yeah.
Like, this is co-op, and this is you screwing each other over. There's a big luck element, and a random element.
Did you hear the change
So
to
that's
the
all
end?
there.
The end stars at the end of the game.
For me, it sounded not that big of a change. Like, there's still
It's positive.
stars awarded at the end.
Yeah, so
but
instead it was
random, right?
Yeah, it was said to be like, most coins, most minigame wins, and forgot the last one. And it used to be those ones all the time. Now it's 2 random ones. So it's cool because it
I
adds
like
even
that.
more randomness. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It could be like whoever jumped on most people's heads or just some random stat, right? I think that's cool because the randomness I think is important, and that's where I think Mario Kart, and I'm reluctant to say this, but I think didn't have quite enough randomness sometimes to make it too fun. Like, if someone's really good, then they can pretty consistently win. So like more, but Mario Party seems like randomness I think will make it more fun for co-op and stuff, which is the point. And apparently for the most part all the mini games, of which there's 80, which is awesome. They're supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm hyped for that.
So,
apparently the new modes aren't too impressive, but what's there,
the core,
the traditional stuff is all there, and it's what I wanted. It's just so much what I want right now. Jordan, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I'll wait for other than the hardware issues, which are very frustrating with the Switch, I've had a lot of great co-op experiences between obviously kart, tennis, and even stuff like Tetris now, Puyo Puyo Tetris. There's tons of different stuff on there, but if this ends up being a great couch co-op game from your perspective, then I might end up picking up. I can't because of tennis. I can't go day one, but it's definitely one of those games that seems like as long as it's more than like a 7.5, I guess it'll be adding to the Switch's already strong library of both first-party games and couch co-op games and just games in general.
I think, it seems to be swimming in sevens, as we like to say, which
Maybe.
That's good for this game, I think.
People just wanted what they remembered from Mario Party. Like Nintendo was changing it way too much. It's like, just give us the core experience we remember, updated graphics, new fun mini games. Boom, you got us.
And this isn't Jordan. This isn't going to be. I could only imagine it would be miserable to play it by yourself. So you know what I mean. So
he has people over all the time. He was talking about his Joy-Con issues. Remember?
Well, that's the thing. The multiplayer I play is obviously not online multiplayer, but if I'm doing couch co-op, then I do a lot of the kart, the stuff that I just mentioned. But if this is good enough co-op, then I'd probably be down for it. Yeah. Are you playing it this weekend?
Hell yes. Tomorrow night.
So yeah, I'll be hitting you up to see how it is this weekend.
It's so funny that you're going to be playing Mario Party. I'm going to be playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That's cool though.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like I was saying on our chat, since we're into that part of the show, like it's really weird that this is, I mean, the first time in a long time, maybe ever, for the whole Assassin's Creed mainline series that I'm not, like basically day one or worried about it around launch or like, hyped up for this game. So I still need to get back into Origins and really get through that. But we'll see. We'll see how my Assassin's Creed relationship goes from here on.
What are you going to be playing? Since it won't be Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird, right? And not even Mario Party. I'll still be playing Lumines and Into the Breach on Switch, I'm sure. Like I said, I do need to probably hop back into Origins at some point. I do need to hop back in and keep playing through the Kingdom Hearts series.
You do.
Distracted. I have gotten distracted with these fucking these little Switch games, man. There's so many great little Switch games out there. But yeah, so that, and then reading the comics that I was talking about. I'll be breaking down to some of the more individual heroes in DC now that I've caught up with like their teams, the Titans and the Justice Leagues and the Suicide Squad type of stuff. So, some Wonder Woman, some Green Lantern, some Flash, some Green Arrow, stuff like that. Definitely excited about the Green Lantern stuff. So there's that. And then, Jared, are you going to be reading the new Green Lantern comic coming up?
Not sure.
Not sure. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. I guess that starts next month. And then, catching up with that Marvel Fresh Start. And then this will be a little bit further down the road. But once I've really kind of put DC current stuff away, except for the stuff that I'm keeping up with, then I'll be able to get back to the Marvel Now stuff that I was reading. So there's that, and then watching some more of the Fate/Stay Unlimited Blade Works anime, which is really great. Really enjoyed Fate Zero. It is a really fucking great series. And then more Batman Beyond. Since we're not getting the game that we should be getting, it kind of sucks. But, I know I've kept talking about this Batman animated series remaster, but I'm already going to be chiming this horn for the Batman Beyond HD remaster. Because it's just got to fucking happen. It's just got to fucking happen. We've got Batman, we've got Justice League. We've even got stuff like Avatar: The Last Airbender and Samurai Jack. It's time for the rest of the classics to happen. And I'm even clanging the bell for old Superman the Animated Series at this point. And, I'm going to need some Static Shock down the road. Who knows? I'm just saying. Yeah.
Real quick before we close the show, I want a percentage from each of you. How likely Rocksteady's next game is at XO18?
Very.
10%?
So very would be like probably 70 plus 75.
Okay. How likely do you think it is that we see the Avengers project instead of Rocksteady's game?
5%,
maybe 50%.
You think it's less? You think it's less likely to see the Avengers project than Rocksteady's game?
I mean, I guess it's the same.
The way
Yeah.
Spider-Man's going, like, they got to get. It's time to get this Avengers game shown. Like, they got to.
That could be Game Awards though. That's a tough thing. Is like, it probably won't be at XO18 because if it's going to be somewhere, it'll be at Game Awards. Jeff Keighley getting them.
If that's the next big AAA Marvel game after Spider-Man, they really need to start knocking these out of the park. Like some, obviously the Avengers game, the Guardians game, Spider-Man 2, and then even branching into other stuff. X-Men games. Hopefully by that point.
Punisher, My Machine Games.
God damn! Fuck, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Oh man, if the Wolfenstein guys can make Punisher, that'd be dope. Anyways, thank you guys for listening to episode 114 of the Controlled Interest Gamecast. As always, if you can, follow us on iTunes, leave us a review, it definitely helps. Subscribe to us on YouTube, leave us a like, that also helps. You can follow me at Jared_. You can follow Jordan at Mellow Modus. You can follow Dom at Dom's Oreos. And you can follow us as a collective at CTRLINT, that's Controlled Interest Abbreviated. We'll catch you guys next week in episode 115. We'll see you guys then.